cool. I'm here with Evan Cooper Perzanowski. So your middle name's Cooper, and my middle name's John. So together we're John Cooper. And this project is named Love John Cooper, a project for Universal Brotherhood. So Evan, let me ask you, where are we right now?
We're at a place called God's Rock in the National Monument in Grand Junction, Colorado. A place we've deemed the most holy of places in this area.
Nice. Why do we call it God's Rock?
We call it God's Rock because the first time we ever came here, we had some stuff we were thinking about that was really heavy on our minds. So one day we decided to read the book of Ecclesiastes to the mountain because we figured that no one has ever taken the time to read Ecclesiastes to the mountain. And so we felt like there would be some spiritual connection we could make with that. And so when we came up here, we felt a lot of peace. We felt God's voice with the wind going through the plants and everything like that. And you really feel a divine intervention here and a sort of divine sense of peace here. And so that's why we call it God's Rock.
Would you mind telling us about John Cooper? What was he like as a person? What do you remember?
Oh, sure. Yeah, our grandfather, John Cooper, was a very amazing man. He was beyond everything that this world held him to. He was a very, very golden soul. He genuinely cared about each and every one of his family members. He genuinely cared about other people and made an effort to smile and be good-natured and always hold a sense of positivity. He never took things too seriously, even though he was a tremendously hard worker. He never took things too seriously and always had a great sense of humor, and I always remember him smiling.
We also went to a country club when we were younger. We're not going to say the name of it, but it recently came into our consciousness. We were recently, told that this country club did not allow black or brown people in it.
Right. Or Jewish people.
So would you mind telling us about a few of the stories you know about that country club and how you think it relates to our grandpa?
Sure. So the country club when I was younger, I never took notice of it. Everybody there was white, but it never registered. I was just a young kid. I didn't really understand racial biases and all that stuff. So when I was there, it felt normal. We had fun. We played with kids our age. It seemed like any other sort of club you would join. It was when I came into understanding, it took me aback because I'll be honest, I had many great memories at that club. We did a lot of projects. We had fun swimming and hanging out with family members. But coming into consciousness with what it kind of represented, it was a shock to me that our grandparents would join a club that excluded people based off of their race or religion. And so I think what's important to understand is that our grandfather was a great man, but he was very, very flawed as well. And he allowed earthly things to make him flawed. And I think it's funny in some ways because if people just saw the club he was registered to, he'd be automatically labeled a racist because of what the club represented. But it's hard from my perspective, knowing that he's my grandfather, to call him a racist because I know the man he was. But I think it's very important to understand that each and every person is very flawed in their own way.
And we were talking about that earlier why doesn't every Catholic church or every church open up its doors to become a homeless sanctuary at night?
Right.
Like I was talking to Luke the other night, a really hard worker, really great guy, and he doesn't have a place to go.
Right.
So you were saying earlier that this place is very holy and that there's no church on earth that's holy right now, but you consider yourself Catholic.
Right.
Would you mind talking about that?
Sure. So when I was entering the Catholic Church, I saw a lot of corruption within all churches that are here on earth. And I sort of concluded that on this earth there is no holy church of God just because of the fact that humans are so flawed that we can never uphold what God wants us to do, really. And so when I was entering the Catholic Church, I was thinking in my mind which church is the closest to what God would want established on this earth. And it was just my feeling that the Catholic Church fit that criteria, even with all its many flaws and foibles. I always felt the Catholic Church was the most holy of the churches. But that being said, we see within its history and within the church's history that it's so flawed. And we were talking about that, how I was talking about 2 Kings, how the churches here on earth have passed the point of no return. It's become so corrupt that all we're trying to do is kind of rebuild what we've already destroyed. And so what was important was getting established into a church community and trying to really help individual people so that the whole can become better.
So the question I'm asking everyone, and the question I'll ask you is, if you think we as all people Me, you, our cousins, people in Huntington Beach, California, the United States, the world, Catholic, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, if we're all to live in universal brotherhood, unity and connection with each other, what is it we have to do, and what's preventing us from doing that?
So I think the first thing is to understand how flawed we are as individuals. I'll be completely honest, with some people I see, I'll already make prejudgmental thoughts about them based off of maybe their ethnicity, what they're wearing, how they just look, how they present themselves. So I'll make these very, very harsh judgments based off of things that don't actually represent them as who they are as individual people. And so I think the most important thing to start with in order to establish a universal brotherhood is recognizing the flaws in each and every one of us and understanding why those flaws are there and working our very hardest to overcome those flaws and understand that it's not a logical reasoning behind hating people or behind discrimination.
And what do you think keeps us from doing that?
I think a lot of it, I can speak from personal experience. I don't want to see myself as prejudiced. I don't want to see myself as racist. I don't want to see myself as judging people based off of one particular trait of theirs. And so for me, it's something I wanted to hide because I never wanted to label myself that way. But it wasn't until I had to fully realize that I was the problem that's where the true growth came, because now I'm much more mindful and I don't make nearly as many preconceived judgments on people.
Nice. Evan, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Spencer.
Yeah.